The Boston Bruins began their 4-game road trip with a victory against the San Jose Sharks on Thursday. We're going to break down that game and preview this weekend's action here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Friday, October 20th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today we're talking about Boston's 3-1 victory over the San Jose Sharks on Thursday night. Well, if you're in the Eastern time zone, it was half Thursday night, half Friday morning. 100% a victory for the Bruins, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. A quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, and dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. Let's begin by talking about the numbers from last night's game. 3-1 victory. The Bruins outshot the Sharks 36-27, and the game winner was scored by James van Riemsdyk, who now has 3 goals in 3 games for the Boston Bruins. It was a bit of an ugly goal. It was reviewed, but in the end, it stood, and Van Riemsdyk continues to be red hot. He crashed the net, pushed a loose puck over the goal line to make it 2-0 at that point, and it stood as the game winner. That goal came just 21 seconds after Brad Marchand put the team up 1-0, his first regular season goal as captain of the Boston Bruins. We'll talk about that one in a moment because of who got the assist. The play on James van Riemsdyk goal started when Charlie Coyle drove to the net, circled around, fed the puck to Trent Frederick, who directed it towards San Jose goalie Kabokaganen. And, Jim Montgomery had rejigged the lines a bit, and Van Riemsdyk, who had been playing previously with Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak, bumped down to the third line, and he thought they had some good chemistry, some good zone time, good shifts, and it was a good start, obviously, getting the goal. He said Coyle's definitely a horse in the offensive zone, draws the extra guy to him, so there's lots of open ice out there, and that's kind of what happened on the goal. He added, quote, "He had a lot of eyes on him, and we were able to find some soft ice and get a couple extra whacks at it," end quote. Now, of course, it was reviewed for potential goaltender interference or pushing the pad over, but it stood, was the game winner, and Coach Jim Montgomery said the new look trio of Van Riemsdyk, Coyle, and Frederick had a tremendous impact, so we'll likely see this line stay intact for another little bit here. Montgomery said he thought Charlie Coyle was dominant. His 2 line mates owned the middle of the front of the net. Second goal really was an exclamation mark of what I think that line could be. So that was great to see for sure. That's the line gelled, and that James van Riemsdyk, again, I talked about it the other day, great value signing for Don Sweeney, coming in, making only $1 million this season, a bit of not a show-me contract since he's a veteran and he's already proven that he can score at the NHL level, but one where he's showing that he has something left in the tank. He can contribute to an NHL team and maybe set himself up for a better deal in free agency next summer. Right now, he is second on the team in goals behind David Pastrnak, who has 4, Brad Marchand, Trent Frederick, each with 1 apiece. And those are the only players who have scored so far through the 3 games for the Bruins. 4 different scores. Of the 9 goals scored by the Bruins so far, 7 of them have come from 2 players. So that is a bit of a concern. We're going to need to get the depth scoring going a little bit here, get the secondary scoring going. There's some players who have yet to even record their first points, notably Pavel Zacha, Jake DeBrusk, Morgan Geekie. All have been held without a point so far this season. So that's going to need to pick up if they're going to continue this strong start. Overall, the Bruins had the advantage in shots, 36-27. When it comes to shot attempts, though, San Jose had the advantage, 65-59. That's in all situations. High danger chances, though, the Bruins dominated 22-9. Expected goals, which is looking at shot attempts, shots, scoring chances, high danger chances. The Bruins were at 4.61 compared to San Jose's 1.81. So a very deserving win for the Bruins. I said yesterday that it was an incredibly winnable game, and they proved that to be true here last night against the San Jose Sharks. I mentioned David Pastrnak. He got his 4th goal of the season, a very bizarre one. He carried the puck into the zone. He was bumped off balance, tumbled to the ice. His puck went off his skate, past Kakinen for a 3-0 lead. Just a very weird play. If those are the kind of bounces he's going to get this season, then 60 should remain on the table for sure. Hampus Lindholm had a game-high 25 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time. Really dominant with his skating. He wanted the puck. He was commanding the puck, Montgomery said. And then just a quick note on Matt Poitras before we take a quick break. He was -1 in 12-18 of ice time, went 4 for 9 in the faceoffs, and not his strongest game in black and gold. You learn from it, you move on, get ready for the next one, and they're going to get a real good test when they go to LA on Saturday night. We'll talk about that game later on, but if Poitras is going to stay in the top 6, he's going to see Anze Kopitar, Pierre-Luc Dubois. We might be seeing him coming back down to earth a little bit after his amazing ascendance, and it's possible that the stage could be being set for him to be sent back down to junior, but 6 games left to make that decision. All right, we're going to talk about John Beecher's impact and also what's coming up this weekend for the Boston Bruins. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today, and it's important to be prepared. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. Jase Medical offers customizability for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. They're continually working to expand their medication offerings, and you can also buy a gift card for family or loved ones so they can get a Jase case of their own. Go to jasemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. Get prepared with a Jase case, customize your case, and add life-saving medication based on your unique needs. Oh boy, do I love my Birddogs shorts and sweatpants. They have this crazy comfortable cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so I get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They also have this anti-sweat wicking fabric that keeps me cool and dry all day long. They're functional for any occasion. My wife even mentioned the other night they're perfect for date night even, so you can be comfortable and still look good. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free water bottle at checkout. Honestly, you will not want to take your Bird Dogs off. I promise you, they are so comfortable, and I highly recommend you order some today. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every day, free and available on your favorite podcast app. On Monday's show, we will recap the weekend's action, a couple games coming up here, and I highly recommend you also subscribe to the YouTube channel because I'll be popping up extra bonus video content there on days where there are no new podcasts. And like we have this weekend, a back-to-back Saturday in LA, Sunday in Anaheim. I'll pop a video up in between those games to keep you up to date. Last night, I mentioned Brad Marchand scored his first, and it was assisted by Johnny Beecher, his first NHL point. He said it's pretty special to get the first one, especially getting assists to a guy like that. Top 20 Bruin of all time, Beecher called Marchand. Something to be able to tell my kids about one day. Beecher fed Marchand by the top of the left wing circle. Marchand took the step toward the net and fired a wrister far side over the glove of Kaapo Kähkönen to put the Bruins up 1-0 late in the first period. His first goal as captain. Beecher, speaking of Poitras, he did credit the other young center for making an unbelievable play, entering the zone. An unselfish play to make the change as they got into the O zone. So pretty good hockey sense there. Beecher got out there, covered for the D, and was able to get the puck on 63 stick. And usually good things happen when that is the case. Happy to get the first one out of the way. Happy to get the win. Next up is his first NHL goal. Also of note, Beecher saw significant time on the penalty kill. 152 of his 1122. The Bruins held the Sharks to 0 power play goals in this one. They also didn't score any power play goals. So all their scoring came 5-on-5, which Jim Montgomery was looking for improvement. So good on them there for succeeding in that area. Beecher, yeah, one of the reasons he's on the team is because of his ability to play strong defensively. Sharks went over 3 on the power play, I should say, and Beecher, a big part of that. He said that's how he's going to make it in this league and survive in this league. Taking pride in a 200-foot game, being able to help the team in that aspect. Penalty kill has been pretty solid lately. That's an understatement. They're perfect 100% through 3 games. And he said it's huge knowing that they have trust in me and then take a lot of ownership on himself to get the job done. He said, quote, "This league can humble you pretty quick. Just making sure you cross your T's and dot your I's when you're out there and you're getting the little things right. It feels awesome to be able to be put out there in those situations," end quote. Now, Beecher in the face-off circle as well. He was 63.64% in the dot, which is great to see. Just an overall very strong game for the youngster. And if there were any questions about whether he can hang as the team's fourth line center, those are all out the window at the moment because he has been very, very solid to begin the season. Shots on goal, a trio of guys had 5 each. Trent Frederick, who recorded the primary assist on Van Riemsdyk's goal, had 5 shots. Brad Marchand with 5 shots. David Pastrnak with 5. Those were your other 2 goal scorers on the night. But again, we need some of these other guys to get going a little bit here. Jake DeBrusk had 3 shots on goal, 19 minutes of ice time. Morgan Geekie, though, 0 shots in 14 minutes of ice time. Matt Poitras, 0 shots as well. those guys were put up with Marchand to give them a bit of a shot in the arm to get going. But not really going to cut it. And interestingly, Poitras' ice time has gone down in each of the first 3 games of the season. 1450, 1404, 1218 last night. Kind of reading the tea leaves here and seeing that it's possible they're going to conclude that he impressed. He's very close, but not necessarily ready for a full 82 games. And again, the game against the, even the Ducks, Trevor Zegras, Leo Carlson, top 2 centers there. Kings have Kopitar, Dubois as their top 2 centers, Philip Deneau there as well. Those will be big tests for Poitras as well, and he's going to need to step up if he wants to remain in Boston for the remainder of the season. All right, coming up, we're going to discuss what's ahead for the Bruins and this really great opportunity that they have to keep their strong start going. Question: how does winning 100 times your money on fantasy hockey sound to you? That's possible with the daily fantasy hockey app called Sleeper. It's the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL, and Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. With Bruin studs like David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, Brad Marchand, James van Riemsdyk. All you need to do is pick more or less on stats like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and you can get up to a 100-time payout on Sleeper. So start paying attention and get your picks right so you can win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. After last night's victory, the Boston Bruins are a perfect 3-0 to begin the season, and they have a real chance here to keep that hot start going thanks to this very odd schedule that was presented to them to begin the season. They've played 3 Western Conference opponents so far. They've beaten the Chicago Blackhawks, the Nashville Predators, now the San Jose Sharks. And their next 4 games, I should say, against Western Conference teams. They play the Kings on Saturday, another 10:30 p.m. Eastern start. They play the Ducks on Sunday at 8:30 p.m., a bit more reasonable. Then they go to Chicago to take on Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks once again on Tuesday. And then they come home to begin a homestand against the Ducks again on Thursday. How are those teams doing so far? Well, the Kings are 2-1-1, 5 points. That'll probably be their toughest game. But the Ducks so far only 1-2, while the Blackhawks are 2-3. So, overall, Blackhawks, Sharks, Ducks expected to be at or near the bottom of the league. If the Bruins can take care of the Ducks, the Blackhawks, the Kings, we're looking at a perfect 7-0 start here before they ramp up the schedule against Eastern Conference opponents. The Kings may be a bit tougher. They have a back-to-back situation in LA and Anaheim. No travel involved there, but still playing 2 games in less than 24 hours could be a bit tough. And then traveling to the Central time zone, then back to the Eastern time zone. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but on paper, they should beat the Ducks. And we've already seen that they can beat the Blackhawks. Kings may be a bit more of a challenge. Altogether, though, it's a very good opportunity for the Bruins to have a really strong start here. And that's important coming off the disappointment of the playoff loss to the Florida Panthers. A lot of questions about how they would stay afloat. Sans Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. So far, so good. We haven't seen their best efforts yet. They got some lucky bounces and calls perhaps last night. So to get these 6 points early on without them playing their best and without having played against really top flight NHL competition is really important to bag those points here early on, because the Atlantic looks as though it's going to be a real dogfight here. The Bruins are atop the division, 3-0. Senators, Red Wings also have 6 points. They're both 3-1. Tampa Bay's inching back up. Florida, Toronto in the mix. Canadians will likely come down. The Sabres off to a rough start. Higher expectations for them. It's going to be really, really difficult. And the Bruins need to, keep the foot on the gas here and get off to the best possible start that they can. And so far, so good. So the Bruins in LA tomorrow night to take on the Kings. I'll be sure to post anything on YouTube if there's any lineup changes. Post a quick recap of that one in advance of the game against Anaheim on Sunday. And all good so far for the Bruins, although we need to get that secondary scoring going for sure. You can't rely on Pastrnak and Van Riemsdyk to score all the goals. And they literally have 7 of the 9 goals so far. All right, friends, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again here on Monday here on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.